my guest is Nas Anderson. In this episode, we were able to discuss different things from starting her business, motherhood, and so many other things to make her to this woman she is today. So Nas Anderson has been married for 10 years and have two girls, 8 and 9. Her journey has been interesting because she has started her consulting agency half a decade ago with her husband. And the goal of the business is to help small businesses start, operate, and grow their businesses effectively using digital marketing to reach more customers. She received her master's degree in executive leadership and obtained a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt in 2012 in hopes of climbing the corporate ladder. She has been fortunate to not let that training and education go to waste, as she has utilized them in her business daily to assist her client base. She says running a business in general is not as smooth, and hers has not been different. She had faced many challenges with strategy and faith and continued to push through to reach her goals. Backend Bestie is a strategic operations agency. And this her agency she has created. The goal is to help organizations improve their businesses operation by providing strategic advice and implementing solutions to optimize efficiency, reduce costs, and increase profitability. They offer a range of services related to operation management, such as full back-end suite, business optimization, process improvements, organizational restructuring, and performance measurements. And overall, the agency will provide valuable expertise and resources to help organizations optimize their operation and achieve strategic goals. She is also an author of Run the Play, a strategic planning workbook for entrepreneurs at all stages. Let us meet Nas. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gaby U Show. So today I have an amazing guest, Nas Anderson. Nas Anderson, welcome to the Gaby U Show.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so happy to have you here today. So I'm going to get right away started. And before, kind of getting started, so I'll start with my amazing icebreaker questions. Okay, so the first icebreaker question here I want you to tell us, what is your favorite food?
Ooh, that's a great question. I am a foodie, so I love like
Me
fusion
too.
foods. Yeah, I like fusion food. So like I'm Jamaican too.
Okay.
So I have these jerk chicken egg rolls and they're amazing. Yes, just imagine that. That's my favorite.
Oh, girl, you need to share me that recipe. My family like. You
So
see, this
good.
is one of my, probably I've shared it for you guys if you are listening, listening to all the episodes. So one of the reasons I added this question because I'm a foodie myself. I'm not picky. I love exploring foods. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to add this in my podcast, so I can be finding out, more
New
kinds of
food.
food I can
Yeah.
modify or try out. So what do you call it again? The
It's
food?
a jerk chicken egg roll. So it's an egg roll, it's fried just like an egg roll, but it has jerk chicken and cabbage and corn, like the carrot, everything that comes with the cabbage,
Okay.
Jamaican cabbage, it's all in the egg roll. It's so good.
Hmm. Yeah, send me that recipe. I need that. Maybe some of our, listeners too will want this. They're going to be searching about this. That sounds very good. Okay. So the next thing I want to ask you, what is your favorite quote?
Hmm. My favorite quote is actually become the change you wish to see. And I think that's Gandhi, if I'm correct.
Yes, I
But
think so. Yeah.
yes, when I heard that quote when I was in my early 20s, and I
Mm-hmm.
just thought that that embodied what I was trying to do in my life, just as a human on this earth. I'm like, if we all did our part and if we were all just individually kind and individually, just you start with yourself, you don't have to focus on what anybody else is
Yes.
doing. We would see a different world. So when I saw that quote, I'm like, wow, this is so aligned with
Mm-hmm.
how I'm viewing the world. So I definitely myself want to become the change I wish to see, and I encourage others to do the same.
Oh, that is so good. I love that quote too. And I know I have used it in different forms for stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, if you want, and this is the thing, we see people say, oh, they are not doing this, they're not doing that. But it's like, what about you? What are you doing? And
That part.
yeah. And I think I can link it, with one of the Bible quotes, talking about, you are looking for that little thing in that person's eye. And
Mm-hmm.
when Jesus in the Bible, he said, take out the big log. You have the
Yeah.
big log in your eye.
Yeah.
You're trying to take one little speck. And that is the thing. We work on ourselves first.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the same thing too. The way you want somebody to act with you, if you don't want people to be nasty with you, then don't be nasty to people. And
Mm-hmm.
many other things,
Mm-hmm.
you can put in there, so be the change, how do you put say it again? I'm saying I don't
Be,
want
become the change you wish to see.
yes, become the change you wish to see. Yes. So that is I love that quote. That's an awesome one. Yes. All right. So the next thing I want us to talk about, or I want you to talk about, is that I want you to share with me what you believed have shaped you to be this woman you are today. Is it from your struggles, your victories? Is it a career, motherhood, all that? So let's just go right in it, and the floor is
I,
yours.
thank you. I love that question. And, I think at different points in my life, I would have a different answer.
Yes.
But because of that reason, I believe that everything that I've experienced and everything that I will experience is pretty much the sum of who I am. So, again, I wasn't born in America. I wasn't born in this country. So I wasn't raised in the country I was born in either. So, being born in Jamaica and raised in America gave me a different perspective on life in general because I'm being raised in a household that's like, that's too American, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? I don't know any better, and so, figuring out how I fit in the world was a thing from early on. And then, I became a mom when I was 24. To a lot of people that might be young, but I lived my life prior to that. So I feel like I got the best of both worlds. And then being a wife and now an entrepreneur after being in corporate America for 9 years, all of those things all together definitely make up who I am as a woman. And my faith plays a huge role in who I am because I wouldn't have done any of the things that I consider my greatest accomplishments without God. Like
Yeah.
even having children, I wasn't supposed to have kids. The day I went to start my hormone therapy because I have PCOS, she was like, "Oh, you're pregnant." And that literally, she's like, "I took it 3 times." So, just experiencing those little miracles in my life. And then even the hardships that have just become a part of my testimony, that's pretty much what makes up who I am.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So when okay, so let's pick on one of you kind of, summarize like all these things. So I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to pick on one of them and kind of link it to others. So,
Yeah.
you living, what are some of the things that made you to leave that corporate America, to now go into being an entrepreneur?
That's a great question.
Mhm.
So I never ever thought of myself as owning a business. I enjoyed business, but that drove me to want to be a CEO for a company. So
Mm.
I would research different women CEOs, women of color CEOs, and try to look at their journey and their careers to see, okay, how did they get to this point? And so I went back to school. I got a master's in executive leadership because I was serious. I'm like, whatever I have to do to climb this ladder, that's what I'm going to do. So I started the climb, but I realized that corporate America required a lot of strategy and know-how for climbing the ladder that had nothing to do with your skills or abilities. And so I started understanding that. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how to play this game. So, I was trying to figure that out too. And I was just frustrated. So I was already open to other opportunity. I just didn't know what that was. I knew I had all of these gifts and skills. I didn't feel like they were being appreciated in corporate America. I kept getting no's or wait, you haven't been working that long type of conversations. And I'm like, well, why do I have to wait for 10 years to do something I can do now?
Yeah.
That added to my frustration. So my husband actually came from entrepreneurs. His mother was a hair salon owner. His grandmother was a hair salon owner. So he had exposure to entrepreneurship that I never had. So he worked in advertising and he had this idea. He was like, you know what? I want us to create content for Black businesses because a lot of Black businesses, they have some DIY looking stuff. And, you can't compete in the market like that. So
Yeah.
he's like, if we can create some good quality stuff to make the businesses look legit because they are legit, I think we could do something for our community. And I'm like, okay, I'll help you, but I'm climbing the corporate ladder. Like that's my whole laser focus. And
Yeah.
he's like, okay, cool. So I did start helping him. And in that opened up my mind to say, wait, I am a CEO. I'm just a CEO for myself. So how do I grow my business into the Fortune 500 companies that I admire?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing how that's process. Like, no, I could do it a little bit, and like, why am I
Mm-hmm.
using all this energy that I could use for my own? And
Exactly.
and so yeah, well, many and that is, many of us like that, we're doing that, and it's you have to just try it out and see.
Right
It's
now,
not easy, but it's doable.
it's
As we
very
can see, Nas doesn't have two heads. And those of you watching, if you're not watching, I know she does. If you're listening, the audio, it's something we just kind of have to try it out and see. And it's something I always would say it about, I rather be in a place where I have said I have tried something than be in a place of what if, what would it look like? Because that place of what if is not a very,
not
very nice
happy.
place to be. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I want you to share a little bit on your motherhood process. Being a mom, because you saying that I know you went through that fast, like talk about not saying that you weren't gonna have kids.
Yeah.
So how did that process go? Like,
God works in mysterious ways because you don't ever want anything until you can't have it. Like, I
Mhm.
wasn't the woman that was like, oh, I can't wait to get married. I can't wait to have kids. That wasn't how I walked around. I wasn't that person. Then I got married, unexpectedly. Like, I found my soulmate and he was like, let's do this. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And then when I went to the doctor and they gave me that news, I'm like, wait, but what if I wanted to have kids? It's one of those situations like, what do you mean?
Yes.
Because you're not thinking, no one thinks that you can't have a child,
Yeah.
and that's not something that you're
Like a
thinking of.
normal process. I get married and then pregnant, it just happens like that.
Right. So to hear that, I'm like, okay. So actually, the backstory to me walking into the doctor's office and being pregnant when I'm supposed to be starting hormonal treatment, was that I was in a Bible study group at that time. It was a small group, and we would meet every Wednesday. And one of the meetings, I've never heard this verse before, but they were talking about the verse in the Bible where it says, if the elders gather, if they're sick, who
Mm.
among you are sick, bring them at the
Yeah.
elder gather around. Yeah. So they read that verse and I'm like, wait. If the elders gather around a sick person, they could potentially be healed. And so not thinking anything of it, I'm like, and I didn't say anything about it. So when we got in the car, I spoke to my husband. I'm like, I want the elders to pray over me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not ready to have a child right now, but I want to be healed of whatever is keeping me from having a child. And so the next week we went and they did. The elders gathered around me, they prayed over me, and I was just crying. Like it was like a whole thing. And that was it. I didn't think anything of it again. I wasn't thinking about again. I wasn't actively, oh, it's like, oh, I want a baby. I wasn't
Yes.
thinking that. So process wise, the doctor was like, okay, if this is something you do want to do one day, you need to start these hormone treatments so that it can do whatever it does scientifically and then go from there. So I'm like, okay, put me on the schedule, so I went through that. And unbeknownst to me, not even really thinking about the elders praying over me again, I just went back to living my life, not thinking about
Yeah.
it, going in for my treatment. I'm like, at least the treatments are going to help me get to that place one day, still not giving God the credit that he is due. And went back to the doctor and she was like, I had to take it 3 times because I couldn't believe it. So when the doctor says they can't believe something, I already know where it came from.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I ended up you have 2 kids.
I have 2 kids now. Yeah. So when a doctor tells you that you can't, just know who your God is. That's my
Yeah.
mind, because I've experienced that. And especially with Black women, like we have so many infertility issues that people
Yeah.
don't talk about. Like I didn't know what PCOS was until I was diagnosed with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, getting into a space where we can educate ourselves as a community, even knowing what supplements to take. And I know that's your area, the
Yeah.
whole,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that will help ease our minds because there's no
Yeah.
that they can't.
That is so true. I mean, there's so many things that it's amazing what we don't know. And I mean, I work in that area too of, hormonal health, women hormonal health. And when I had my baby, my last baby, I was, 41 when I had him. And I started doing all these videos too of talking about having babies at, the advanced maternal age stuff, like,
Mhm.
all this stuff, and giving advices what you can do to prep your body, because I would say my pregnancy was easy.
Mhm.
Actually, it was easier. I felt my body was more healthier, and the pregnancy went better than when I was 34. So
Wow.
34 was 7 years prior, and because over those years I had taken care of myself, work on my health, and just mentally, physically, all those. So it's something I started like, a lot of people need to hear this, and a lot of people are like asking all those questions, and like things like basic, I thought it was basic because I'm a healthcare provider, but I just people don't know this stuff. Like, you know, a lot of work. There's a lot of work the medical community have to do, because people are getting more education on TikTok
Yeah.
than they're getting more support there. They're learning a lot of stuff that, I mean, not all are probably true, but a lot of it are very helpful to people, and they find they have a group to, all that. So the medical community will have a lot of work to do, because, people are
Mhm.
not, and that's exactly what you said, especially in women of color, we sometimes are lacking in having these resources to be able
Yeah.
to make better decisions for our health.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. So
Mhm.
with your second pregnancy was pretty easy, like, how,
Here I am. Like, I'm like, I have one child. Thank you, Lord, for my blessing. Not sure if I was even ready at that time, but who am I to complain? It's a blessing, right? So
yeah.
I'm on control, taking it regularly. And then here comes my other child 16 months later. And I'm like, I thought I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. Like, now I'm confused because I'm like, I went from not having kids, infertile, to very fertile.
Very fertile. Yeah, like 16 months later, bam. You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
amazing how the body works.
Yeah. And so they're best friends, and I'm glad I'm an only child.
Yeah,
So
okay.
raising sisters has been a very interesting journey. The fight,
Oh,
the highs and the lows. I'm just not used to it. So I
yes.
spend a lot of time asking them, like, why are y'all doing this to each other? Like, why are you like this? And other people are looking at me like this is normal
This
sibling
is
behavior.
normal. Yeah, that is how they love themselves.
I'm like, okay,
They
I don't like
fight, they curse themselves and do all the stuff, but they still love each other.
I don't understand. So confusing.
My goodness, that is amazing. Yeah, I love that, and I've heard a lot of women going through that. It's like they get this long period of infertility, and then bam, it's like the doors just open and just have all these kids, bam, 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 like not even making no, I would say not working too hard.
I,
Oh,
yes.
yes, yes. That is such a great story. So, what
Yeah.
would you say you are most proud as a woman today? Proud of?
Wow. I think as of today, I'm most proud of finding my purpose. I
Mhm.
think I struggled with that for most of my life. And not because I didn't want to know or, I thought I knew at some points, but like once I hit my 30s and I started realizing, okay, God does have a purpose for all of our lives.
Oh,
He does. Like whether we get to it as quickly as he wants us to, or just whatever the case may be, we all have a purpose and it's up to us to actually carry it out or not carry it out. But that's just going to be us living against what we were supposed to do. And so understanding that I am an encourager, I'm like, okay, I can accept that about myself. It's draining
mhm.
and the strong friend, but because I understood my purpose, I was able to create the right boundaries
Mm.
for my purpose, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Okay.
Sometimes you figure out who you are and okay, I'm supposed to contribute this to the earth, the world, but you let yourself kind of get abused because you're like, well, this is my purpose, but you
Mm.
still don't have to get abused, and
Yeah.
I learned that. I'm like, I can still have boundaries. I can still tell people no. I
Hmm.
have energy, I can still do those things. But just being proud to know that I know who I am, or I feel like I know who I am now, that has given me a level of confidence that I didn't have for most of my life.
Yes, that is so true. I love
Mm-hmm.
that because yes, it's you have a purpose, it's the learning now, of course, learning that you have those boundaries. Have to learn that because again, a lot of the time people can take advantage of that. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
you're very good at this stuff and learning, and you get overwhelmed even though it might be something that is your purpose, but you are not using it at the right time, at the right frame of mind, and learning to say no. Not.
That part.
Mhm. Like, oh, she's good enough. She's good at this. Let's tell her to do it. She'll do it. She's
But
good.
just retreated. Even he had to go off and go away, get away,
Mhm.
like having a purpose. We all have one, so it's like a matter of, well, how are you going to use your purpose and how am I going to use my purpose and how are we going to use them together? You know,
Yes. Mm.
understand that too, because I that's a huge part of what I do in my profession. I have a digital marketing agency, but a lot of that is me sitting behind the camera and directing people. So I have
Mm.
to of why they started their business so that they can, show up on camera the way
Yeah.
they show up on camera.
Yes. That is so true. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just finding a way to use that very well.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one thing of saying like when the right time comes, because sometimes the doors will not open because we are not matured enough. And talking about, we are both women of faith, that when God is preparing you, because when that door is not opening, it's like it's either you're not supposed to go through that door, number one, or you are not ready.
They're not ready for that conversation,
Yeah.
Gabby.
Mm-hmm. So at the right time, it will come, and that your purpose, you'll be able to use it very effectively.
Yeah.
So that is one thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would be some encouraging words you want to give our listeners today that, listening to us talking,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of tie that thing in a bow.
One thing I would say, or just remind everyone that the hardest part is starting anything that you want to do. It's very hard to start, but the sooner you start, the sooner you get to your goal. So don't be afraid to start. Starting doesn't mean that you're going to have it all figured out right then in that moment. And it doesn't mean that you're going to finish the next week. But if you start, you're one step closer. So, just get started. And whatever has been plaguing you, what's been on your heart, on your mind to do, and it bothers you, or sometimes you don't even think about it, but things remind you, start it.
Ooh, I love that. Just do it.
Just do it. Like you said.
Like you said, just do it, And it goes back to what I was talking about, that I'd rather be in a place where I have to say, oh, I have tried that and it didn't work, than being
Yeah.
in a place where you are like, what if I do? Time is moving. Gotta do something about it, So yeah, I love that. I hope you guys are writing it down. These are great stuff we're talking about, all the
Yes.
quotes and all the words where, it's something to go back and, but you can always play with this, repeat, just keep hearing it.
And I realize that even just starting this business, like people are like, wait, you're leaving your job? Like, why are you doing that?
Your
And
secured job.
right. But for me, I looked at it in so many different ways. I'm like, okay, I can always get another job if this doesn't work out. I trust God for that. I
Yes.
also trust God that He gave us the idea, and the fact that He's allowing it to grow as quickly as He's allowing it to grow. If
Yes.
I don't leave my job, I'm not utilizing my faith.
Yes.
And I'm just saying, oh, I don't trust you, God, to make my business work. I only trust you to keep giving me this paycheck.
Yeah.
When paychecks are not guaranteed either. So
Yep.
I was willing to take the risk, not only on myself, because I wasn't taking the risk on myself. I said, God, this is the business you gave me, and I expect you to provide through the business, just like you
Yes.
provide anything else.
That's
So
right.
that was something that I learned. Like you have to start, because if we never started, I
Yeah.
wouldn't know what it
You don't
feels
know
like.
what to refine,
Exactly.
like, gotta make, and that's one thing that, there is one book, one of the pastors in my church, he wrote, he's a great speaker, Ryan Leake is his name. And
Mm-hmm.
he has this book called Chasing Failure.
Mm.
And he just talks about how, we should go ahead and do stuff and just, like, yeah, you always think of, what if I fail, but what if you be successful, or just
Yeah.
go ahead and do it. Like, yeah, if I fail, whatever, I'm just going to do it, because that is sometimes the fear of like, oh, I'm going to fail, So that book is called Chasing Failure, but it's kind of interesting. Some of
Mm-hmm.
he shared some of the stories of things he went to do, like going to try out for NBA, even though like, I'm gonna try this and see, But yeah, gotta
You
go
know.
ahead and start. Do it. And yeah. Yeah. So how can people connect with you? Where are the places you are hanging that people can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on all platforms. That is what I preach to my clients. You got to be present online on all the platforms, because you never know where your customer is. So
Yes.
that you can find me at Backend Bestie on all platforms. I
Mm.
also, shameless plug, I have a book that you
Oh,
can that you can find on Amazon. It's called Run the Play. So if you
oh,
type in the play, you'll be able to see my book.
oh,
And I wrote
great.
this book because I understood that starting was so difficult, and it's a whole plan to help you start. So if you're thinking about starting a business and you feel like you don't know the first thing you need to do, you don't know how to really focus that energy that you have with all these ideas in your mind, this is a workbook that allows people to work through the different components they
Okay.
need in their and help you start.
That is awesome. Yes. Now we got a book that will let you start. I don't know where to start. Get the book, run,
There you
run the play, right?
run the play.
That's
Yes.
where to start, right? That is
Yes.
awesome. Love it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. So is there any other projects you're working on that you need to know about or?
Not at this time, just
Mm,
really focus on this. This is my baby because again,
mm,
I want to make sure that business resource and education is accessible to
mm.
small business owners. We don't
Yeah.
have to fail when we start a business. We don't.
Yes.
Really
Yes.
can thrive, and we can be brave enough to go all in.
Yes.
And so that's why this is my baby right now. So I do workshops with it. I have some partnerships with the different libraries in the
Okay.
county so that people can understand and learn because everyone didn't go to business school. But if
Oh
you have
no.
a great idea, you should be able to run a good business.
And even people that went to the so-called business school, like have a
They don't
degree,
have real life experience.
yeah, they still need to go through another form of business again, to learn other things, So
Mhm.
yeah, that is so good. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be having all these links on the description area for those of you who want to check it out. I highly recommend you should check it out. So it's gonna be on all the platforms, Apple, on YouTube, everywhere you can find podcasts. So I'll be having all this in that description area. So I'm gonna end this episode today, and thank you so much, Nas, for coming. Really appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yeah, and I'm gonna end this with one of my favorite quotes. And it's from Maya Angelou. She says, "When you know better, you do better." All right, guys. I will see you next time. Bye.